Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Well, happy Tuesday to you. Seth Harp from Harp on Sports. Your backup QB today, Shane Matthews, out and about. Don't worry. He'll still be on the call for this weekend's game as the Gators hit the road to take on the Tennessee Volunteers in Knoxville. My right-hand man today over the course of the first half hour of this program will be a guy that I hear is in the running for Florida Sportsman of the Year. The Orlando Sentinel's Edgar Thompson will be in here for, like I said, the first half of the show. Kyle Crooks, a voice of Gator soccer, voice of Gator softball, voice of Gator women's basketball. Guy calls more games than any man I've ever met in my career. So Kyle will join us for the second half of the program to look at Gator football and the variety of other fall sports that are on the horizon. Remember, PodUp with Matthews in the morning coming to you live from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you and small enough to care. You got questions via Facebook, feel free to pound away via Meldon Law, the only official injury and law firm accident partner of the Florida Gators. It is up via the Titan MRI text line. That is 352-753-7465. And of course, Facebook Live. If you want to peruse the interwebs and have a question for Edgar or myself, feel free. And that is courtesy of Quality Plumbing, residential and commercial plumbing services since 1984. Their name says it all. Edgar Thompson with us here today. Edgar, thanks for getting up early on this Tuesday morning. You and I have not done a show together since the summer. I try to converse with you as much as possible before each game starts. In the press box before my duties kick in. Edgar, if there were two words to describe this season, I grew up in the Midwest, right next to Indiana, or right in Indiana, right next to Ohio, with two of the greatest amusement parks in the world, Cedar Point and Kings Island, known for their roller coasters. Edgar, roller coaster, 5 games in. From your perspective, covering this sport for a couple decades now, how would you describe first 5 weeks of 2024?
2 words? I mean, come on, man. You've known me long enough. When have I ever been that succinct? I have no idea. I mean, I have 2 words that I can't use on this show, probably. Beginning with S.
But Facebook jail.
But yeah, but it's improving.
Okay.
Suddenly. I'm feeling it's tacking in the right direction a little bit, but it could get knocked off course again pretty quickly this week at Tennessee. I'm encouraged at least by the last 2 weeks or last 2 games and 3 weeks, really, because if you throw the bye week in there where they keep talking, they talked about the bye week changes ad nauseum, like the energy and the defensive changes and how hard they worked for 3 days, and it was like fall camp again. And then they put on a pretty good show for a half, a very good show for a half. And the defense kind of kept it rolling into the second half the other night against UCF. So I guess it's been a disappointing season, I think, when you come in with all the I don't even say hype, with all the, promise, the optimism from the team, from the coaches, and then they go out and do what they did against Miami, and then they do what they did against Texas A&M. It's a head scratcher. I guess if that's 2 words, head scratcher. Maybe that's 1 word, hyphenated.
But hey, you're more succinct than me. I don't know if you know this or not. I don't have my wallet with me. I'm actually an ordained minister. I actually am.
I've married. So you could do a wedding or something?
Yeah, a couple weddings. So I believe in absolution. Edgar, absolution is what I believe in on this Tuesday. A win over Tennessee this weekend. Does that absolve Billy for A&M in Miami?
To a large degree, yeah. I mean, if they go to Tennessee and win, and Tennessee, yes, lost at Arkansas. I don't know what happened there. It was good enough at Oklahoma, the Vols. You go there though and win in front of 100,000 plus, where Tennessee's offense under Josh Heupel's averaging 46 a game, where it blows teams out. The tempo gets going, the crowd gets going. It's hard to keep up. And you got to wonder about this offense trying to keep up, especially when you see a second half like the other night where they just kind of took the foot off the gas and a few possessions and did nothing really except attempt one field goal. Then it would be an incredible win, surprising, stunning win. They're 17-point underdogs, I believe. So they do that. Suddenly you're like, maybe there's a chance that Billy gets a fourth year. As it stands now, he's got to really pull a rabbit out of his hat, I think, to get a fourth year. But yeah, this would be a huge step toward that. There's still, it's never lets up from here. UCF was the easiest team left on the schedule. They get this, they get Kentucky, which we know always gives the Gators problems. And the win at Ole Miss was made a statement. And then you get the bye week, and then you get the unrelenting November. Everybody knows it's coming.
3 of the next 4 games are the toughest games. Or this is probably right, the toughest month stretch that any team has in America. With Tennessee on the road, they get Kentucky at home, who, at times this year, had Georgia on the ropes. Then you look at that.
And won at Ole Miss.
Yeah. Yeah.
Held Ole Miss to like a couple of touchdowns at, in Oxford.
Well, and that's where I was going to go with this, because you and I we've known each other for a while now. Winning at home, okay. You're going to pull off big wins at home. But Edgar, you go and win a top 15 game on the road. To me, that's where you kind of separate. I don't want to say contenders, pretenders, because this isn't like a field of 68 March Madness type of thing. But I look at that remaining schedule. Realistically, you talked about UCF being the easy win on the schedule. What SEC, because Florida State's its own beast at the end of the year, own thing. What SEC road game on here, Edgar, is the most winnable? It's not Texas.
None of them. At Texas,
Georgia,
Tennessee's more winnable than at Texas,
yeah.
Maybe. And maybe not. I don't know. Texas looks awfully good. Tennessee at home, though.
I know.
The thing with Tennessee and Billy, Tennessee and the Gators in general, but I was at the 04 game, in fact, where they won on a last-second field goal. And then I was at the 16 game where they scored 28 in the second half. Josh Dobbs had 4 touchdowns in the second half passes. The Gators gave up 8 the entire year. 4 of them were in one half. That 2016 pass defense was incredible for the Gators. Then they beat them there in 2022 when they beat Anthony. That's the only wins Tennessee has against Florida in 20 years. That's it. So Florida's owned Tennessee, and Billy's done well against Josh Heupel thus far. They gave him a game in 2022, 38-33, had the ball at the end. They could have thrown a Hail Mary, I guess, and won. And they beat him soundly last year, 20 points in the second half. But again, last year was a great example of Saturday night. They're up 26-7 at half, and they didn't put the foot on the throat and just knocked that team out. Not that I felt UCF was going to come back and win or Tennessee really had a chance last year, but Florida scored 3 points in the second half, and then the other night's 0. So you got to play 4 quarters this week to have a shot. And Florida's beaten 2 teams where they had advantages on the lines, I feel. Mississippi State and UCF's lines, I think, had a combined like 6 sacks, 3 each coming into the game. that is not going to be the case with Tennessee. Tennessee's very good defensively too, not just offensively. So this is a huge challenge. This would be a stunning win if the Gators can do it.
He is Edgar Thompson. I am Seth Harp in for Shane Matthews on this Tuesday, October 8th edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. Brought to you in part by Miapa Latin Cafe. Discover the ultimate Cuban culinary experience at Miapa Latin Cafe. 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua. You're never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami. Do you think that a little bit, though? I mean, let's face it, Billy's offenses aren't – it's more of an NFL offense, isn't it, Edgar, than it is a college? Like, they're not going to beat teams by 40. The Chiefs are 5-0. The Vikings are 5-0. They're not beating teams. They're winning games by 10 to 14 points when they win. Isn't this not designed to crush teams 45-10?
The way that they call plays, yes.
Okay.
I just don't. I mean, look, and I'm not an X and O maestro here. It just doesn't feel like they keep attacking. Yeah, you know, they're more explosive this year, Florida, for sure. And
yes,
part of that's DJ Lagway. I mean, the throw he made in the seam to Chim DK was an NFL throw. That was a great throw. DK's been very, very good. Badger's been nice. Those guys were very good additions. Billy, one thing we've seen from Billy, he can identify receivers. He was very good at Alabama as a receivers coach, or he's a good receivers coach there. And it seems he's got a knack there. So they have some pieces for sure. I think their running backs are nice. I don't know that Montrell Johnson is even their best running back. I mean, Baugh is explosive. I mean, that was a nice signee. I think Trey Webb is very good. Jacoby Jackson. I was like, why'd they sign this guy? I'm seeing now. He was a JUCO kid from Pensacola. I just was like, kind of felt was like unnecessary signee. He's explosive. So they have a lot of pieces. Hayden Hansen, gets you some first downs. I mean, Boardingham. So they have some. So I don't understand why they're not like opening it up a little bit. Maybe the line. The line doesn't protect that well, but it hasn't given up a sack in 2 games. I think so. It's playing, but again, they played UCF and Mississippi State. Let's see what they can do this week if they can protect Graham. They didn't run the ball great the other night, but still, the offense can be more explosive. It has been. So I don't understand why you don't try to kind of capitalize on that. And I guess you didn't need to the other night, but still, you leave a game like that and everybody's feeling good, and it should be. It's like, but then you're like, well, yeah, but you didn't score in the second half and only gained 100 yards. And right, so you're kind of give and take a little bit there. Everybody's excited, and then it's like the second half of people are just like, wow, what are we doing here? And that's this thing that frustrates people about Billy, I think. It's a little too conservative for their taste, especially at Florida.
Hey, look, I get it. I'm all about speed, baby. Fast. I got some messages rolling in, courtesy of Facebook Live questions. Brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Andy writes in, Edgar, did you notice Saturday that at times Billy was standing 50 yards downfield from the line of scrimmage when the Gators had the ball? Do you think that's odd?
People keep bringing this one up, and Andy, I haven't really asked him about this. And, you start getting to a point where you're just nitpicking a guy on everything and questioning his process all the time. And who would like that? I don't want that. Nobody in life wants to be questioned every move they make. But apparently he feels like he can see things better away from people. And he's just kind of, because he's getting blocked out or something. I don't know. Pat Dooley apparently discussed this. Someone told me, because I was like, I don't know. But maybe we do need to ask him, because Andy is like the 50th person I've heard this from. And it is a little different. I mean, Steve Spurrier was in the middle of it, right? Urban was in the middle of it.
Yeah. Hey, I watch games differently. I don't care what socks the coach has, or if Billy has a black shirt on, or if he stands at the 30. Who gives a damn? I'm just watching the structure and the discipline of the football team. And as long as the coach is putting that team, whatever team it may be, in the best position to win. I know Alabama fans are all over Kalen DeBoer because this is not what Saban would have done. Well, yeah, of course, it's not what he would have done. They had no problem with how he approached the Georgia game, Edgar, but now a gigantic problem with how he approached of course, Vanderbilt game, even though it's the same. Let's see, got a couple more questions here. Daniel writes, sorry, Seth, but I can't help but think of thing one and thing two with that red t-shirt you're wearing. Yeah, Budweiser t-shirt, man. Thing one and thing two. Hey, Edgar, after I left the stadium, I was walking back to the studio, and there was a 12-pack of Budweiser. Only one beer was gone, just sitting on this concrete, like, picnic table. Somebody left it outside the stadium.
Did you commandeer it?
Wasn't there very long. PodUp. It may or may have not found its way into the trunk of my automobile at the end of the night.
That's
and it may no longer exist. PodUp with Matthews in the morning is a service of Silverback Concrete, building firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand by it. Edgar, I was watching the Vanderbilt game a little bit with you, the Alabama Vanderbilt game, and you mentioned earlier Ole Miss, Kentucky. Do upsets mean anything anymore with a 12-team playoff?
It diminishes their value for sure, but it's telling. I think, and Billy discussed it yesterday. Mark Long asked about it, in fact, and the transfer portal is kind of, you're starting to see more and more of the impact of it. There's movement that's evening the playing, leveling the playing field a bit. This Diego, how do you say his last name? What's the quarterback for Vandy? New Mexico State transfer. He's an Albuquerque kid. I should know it because I was out there for
home, yeah.
Yeah, I went to school there, but he went to New Mexico State. I went to New Mexico. But he is really a dynamic player and has elevated Vanderbilt to a level we haven't seen. And Clark Lee's a good coach. We saw what he did to Billy 2 years ago. I mean, he had the Gators, turned around that day. It was a coaching clinic that day, and he's proclaimed at SEC Media Days that he wants to get Vanderbilt's program, to the top level of the SEC. And we're all like, nice guy, but we're like, come on, man. And that was, hey, look, maybe he's got something going there. Missouri gets blown out at home. Texas A&M, first-year coach Mike Elko. Gators lost to them. It's not looking so bad now, right? Miami pulls a rabbit out of its hat, but that's 3 hour. That's the longest trip it could make other than playing maybe like Washington. Longest trip in the ACC they can make, the Hurricanes, and pull that one out. And suddenly that game's not looking. So I don't know. You don't know what it all means, but it is certainly making college football much more intriguing than just like sitting here going, okay, when are we getting to the playoff for Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and a couple, Clemson and a few other, Oklahoma back with Riley. It was always the same teams like every year for year after year, right? So this has definitely livened it up considerably, and it's exciting.
Just like you and I talked about, we all thought on October 8th, Indiana, Army, and Navy would be undefeated, and Alabama, Georgia, and Ole Miss would all have lost. But that's just, but that's something else that you bring up. Edgar, I start to see articles now that talk about Army or Navy being in the playoff.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
That collision course. And, everybody always says that rivalry, when you debate rivalries, that rivalry can't be the greatest because nothing's ever at stake. Could you imagine 11-0 Army versus 11-0 Navy?
Well, they're going to actually potentially, because I listened to the College Football Inquirer pod with Pat Forty, Wetzel, and Dan Wetzel, who's like, those are two of the best in the biz, and Ross Dellinger is just a horse when it comes to college sports reporting. My Lord, the stuff he gets into. Good guys and great pod, and they're talking about the AAC title game could be Army-Navy, and then they would play a week later But
Okay.
by then, have they already determined the playoff, I think? And then they'd be playing again, and it would just be, it could be just a bizarro world if all that unfolds. That's a lot of games to go. I haven't looked at their schedules, but it's very cool. I mean, Army hasn't been good since the 40s with, Mr. Inside Outside, Doc Blanchard and Glenn Davis. And Navy has had a couple pockets. They were good with Roger Staubach in '63 when he won the Heisman. And I think they've had a couple of good teams of late. I don't know the last time when Army's been good.
Yeah, they've gone to bowl games and they've been like 7-5, but I think in '96 they both started 4-0. They both went to bowl games. I think they both won bowl games. But I mean, Edgar, it's a couple years ago.
They have rich history long before the modern era really kicked in.
It's fun. And I grew up in Indiana, Notre Dame, and back when I lived there, they played Army and Navy every year. They happened to play them both this year, Edgar, as I look at the schedule right in front of me. So I get to see those teams a lot. And it just, look, everybody loves the tradition, talks about the tradition. That's what separates college football is the tradition and the pageantry. There's no two programs that have more of it than that. They ooze that. I mean, and that's one of those things that's truly special with everything. And I love fast. I love modern. I don't want an iPhone 12. I want an iPhone 15. I don't want a 10-year-old TV. I don't go out and buy a new car every year. My 2022 red Lambo is just fine with me, or yellow Lambo. I upgraded it. But that's one of those things I still think there's still some cool things about nostalgia. And the fact that those programs are having good years, it's pretty neat. Coy writes in, this ain't Walk the Line and Billy ain't Johnny Cash. Put on a blue or orange shirt. Man, all orange shirts are gaudy as gaudy can be. If he wants to, guys, I don't know this obsession with him wearing black and blue, and you guys chill out. Well, I've never worried about what another man wears in my life, Edgar. Never concern you what I wear.
Well, you're kind of a clothes horse. I'm far from that. I'll tell you though, Billy has put himself in the position, as I said a minute ago, where every move he makes is going to be questioned and criticized. And he's kind of earned it thus far. The guy's 14-16 at Florida. He's hasn't gotten the program where he's, hoped to get it or said he was going to get it. Now he keeps talking about, systems being in place. It was going to be a long process, but are you going to be given the time? This would be a big step this week. Even playing Tennessee closely and then beating Kentucky would be a big step in the right direction before that November gauntlet.
I know it's going to be a crazy week. It's about ready to get really nasty. You are more than welcome. I just bought a Queen blow-up air mattress since I'm going to be anchoring coverage up at the station for the hurricane. You're more than happy to come up there and share it with me if you're not heading up to Knoxville.
Where are you?
At the station, up at the on campus.
Well, I tell you, we'll see how the forecast goes. This house I live in has jalousie windows, which actually are probably better for her. All those beach houses that have survived all these years, I think they kind of give a little bit more. But I don't know that this house is up for the winds. If this thing were to tack north a little bit, that we could get. It sounds like it's going to stay south of here, and we're going to get the side of it that's not as acute. But a lot of people and friends of ours, Matt Baker for one, Tampa Bay Times, all my cohorts in Orlando, my sports editor lives in Bradenton. Those people are about to get nailed. And yeah, it's rough, man, especially coming on the heels of Helene. I still got a pile out in front of my house. It's the size of like a minivan and then some that I picked up the day after this thing came through. It's still sitting out there. I don't know why they haven't picked this stuff up. And if we get high winds here, I see it all over town. This stuff's gonna get blown all over creation.
Yeah, that's basically the last 3 days. What we've done is soak the city or soak the town like you soak a pan after making a pie or after you're washing the dishes. So you're right, it could get nasty the next few days. Just people, please be smart. I know that's easier said than done, but yeah, and we thought this was behind us, but we're right back at it. Are you staying? You heading up to Knoxville? What are you doing, man?
I got Knoxville Thursday. I fly to Gainesville, thankfully, because often I fly to MCO.
Okay.
I go out of Orlando quite a bit just because of cost, or Jacksonville. But yeah, I'm glad I'm not going to MCO. I'm going out of Gainesville at 3:00 on Thursday. So I should be able to get up, but I don't know. I mean, who knows? And if I can't go, I'm not, look, my house gets trashed. Part of my roof gets, I'm not, it's just, I'll cover it up from television, which I never miss games on the road, but this is, unforeseen circumstances.
I thought you, Long, and Harry flew private.
Yeah. It'd be nice.
It would be, wouldn't it?
Like the UAA people, man, they just hop on a dang Gulfstream, man, and they go wherever they want.
We chose the wrong profession and didn't kiss the right, you know what, my friend. But hey, it is what it is.
More credit to them for figuring out the path. But I like what I do too. I like being on this side of it.
Yeah, so do I. Do you? Before we wrap it up here, at least your portion, Kyle Crooks will join us, the voice of Gator women's soccer, Gators women's basketball, Gator softball, and Gator football pregame show as well. Do you? What's a good showing? What's a good showing for this 3-2 Gator team in Knoxville?
I mean, get into the fourth quarter and be at least within striking distance. And if you don't pull it off, I don't think anybody's going to be, surprised. So that would be, go toe to toe with Tennessee. And if you can do that, that program's ahead of this program. It's at home, which is one of the tougher home field environments. And that offense, from what we saw at least the first few weeks of the season, could really do a number against this defense. And if they've made the improvements to, stand toe-to-toe with the Vols, I think people should feel like, okay, maybe this team's making progress. And you get ready for homecoming against Kentucky. There'll be some juice in the stadium. And because otherwise you get blown out at Tennessee, you come here and have a bad performance against Kentucky, homecoming could get ugly. And the last thing people want is homecoming getting ugly.
He is Edgar Thompson, Orlando Sentinel. Again, a candidate for Florida Sportsman of the Year. Also rumored to be a gubernatorial candidate in 2028. Edgar, as always, thank you for your time.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it. There you go. Kyle Crooks, he's up next. We reach halftime. Again, Seth Harp, Edgar Thompson here, in for Shane Matthews on this Tuesday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, Titan MRI, Meldon Law, Peachland Dental, QC Kinetics, Campus USA Credit Union, Dave & Buster's. Gridiron sponsors, Comfort Temp, UF Bookstores, Quality Plumbing, Silverback Concrete, Rules Ogra State Farm, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, F45, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Miapa Latin Cafe, Gator Bait Media, Aikido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, MG&A Wealth, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Nest and Wild, Florida Victorious, Electronics World.
If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550.
Moving along with you here on this Tuesday, October 8th, Seth Harp in for Shane Matthews on this edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning. Of course, you got questions for myself, Kyle Crooks, coming in this segment. Hit us up courtesy of Quality Plumbing on YouTube. Residential and commercial plumbing services and emergency repair since 1984. Their name says it all. Also, Kyle joining us courtesy of Comfort Temp Heating and Air, your number one local HVAC company, professional and experienced technicians keep you informed throughout the entire project. Check them out, comforttemp.com. That's comforttemp.com. Comfort Temp Heating and Air. Comfort is their business. Peace of mind is their promise. Kyle Crooks, I know that it's been a little over a month, 2 months since you and I sat down, talked about the upcoming season. Here we are, October 8th. I brought you in for your astute political analysis. So if you take us through the 8 swing states right now and give us your predictions. No, I can see people cringing right now. Let's start off with this before. I know you had a big call for Gator soccer's win over Texas. Basketball season's now, ready for this? 27 days away. Let's start first with what we've seen, not just with the Gators, but the first 5 weeks of the college football season, because after this weekend, we're halfway through it. 12-team playoff, bandy wins, upsets galore. Is it as special as it used to be?
It's unique, man. I was sitting around the press box at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium watching that Vanderbilt Alabama game. I was sitting with Steve Russell, and I couldn't believe what I was watching. And for the Gators now stepping into Knoxville after, of all situations, for them to lose on the road at Arkansas, and you're going to get an angry bunch. It's going to make things a lot tougher now. I think it's a lot more, it seems like it's a lot more fun, at least this past week, with the number of upsets. And you obviously have the realignment, so things have changed in college football. USC going down at Minnesota. I'm trying to think of some other, there's like 4 or 5 legitimate upsets. Washington beating Michigan. Washington's had a down year since getting to the national title game. So it's been a lot of fun. And it's going on Twitter and seeing how the Alabama fans have turned on Kalen DeBoer, and they've now switched the narrative to his sideline attire after one loss. I think you got to give credit to Clark Lee. He's grinded it out at Vanderbilt. You watch the games on television, it's a 90-10 split in terms of the road fans entering Vanderbilt Stadium. It looks like with all the construction that's going on at that stadium, it looks like it's almost like an abandoned house behind one of the end zones. Credit to them. They have a legit quarterback, tough quarterback. They play tough, and they're back to, I guess, when James Franklin was there, those days, to being really competitive. And I guess the Gators dodged a bullet. They don't have to play Vanderbilt this year, right?
You would have thought that, we lost South Carolina, Vanderbilt, and Missouri. Oh my gosh. It's like, well, maybe that's not the worst thing in the world.
I saw a comment the other day, Seth, on social media under one of the Gator posts that said, after the final score graphic of beating UCF, it said, "We want Vanderbilt."
Pretty good.
Yeah.
No, and look, it's one of these things where it's great. Kentucky has a signature road win. They beat Ole Miss at Ole Miss. Vanderbilt's a home win. South Carolina, I don't know what they're going to be able to do, but you see this in the NFL too every now and then. You look up and all of a sudden the Cardinals are beating the 49ers. You look up and all of a sudden the Commanders have won 4 in a row. And I'm drawing the parallel here. Billy has a big win over UCF at home.
Yeah.
I'm looking around going, okay. I mean, he had a signature win in year 1, beat Utah out of the gate. Big win in year 2 when he beat Tennessee at home. Up here this weekend in Knoxville. Kyle, with this one, beating them, they're 4-2. Does that end? Should that end the Lane Kiffin, the there's a booster that's got a $25 million bag of money that he brought into the meeting with Scott Strickland. Does that end all that nonsense?
It won't end any
Okay.
of that, I don't believe, but it would by far be his biggest win as Gator head coach. Could it happen? Sure. Do I expect it to happen going into Knoxville? Probably not. But again, what we saw, Vanderbilt just beat Alabama. So anything is possible. I think, and I talked to Steve Russell about this past weekend. The offense, I feel, is in a much better spot. Aiden Mizell didn't play over the weekend. That's a big weapon to not have. I feel like there's a comfort level now in this 2-quarterback system that, when it first happened, we're all looking around saying, okay, what's the deal here? What's the plan? How many series is DJ Lagway going to get? Why is DJ Lagway not starting after the Samford game? I think a lot of that has died down, and there's a little bit more of a comfort, I guess, in Billy's plan with the 2-quarterback system. They have a stable of running backs. Trayon Webb didn't play over the weekend. I think there's a lot more confidence in the run game. There's a lot more consistency in the rotation in the offensive line. Jake Slaughter's had one of the best years of any center in college football. Austin Barber, veteran left tackle. Damian George is still a little bit iffy at that right guard spot at a couple of flags. And I know they were rotating him in and out, moving Cam Waits from tackle to guard. So they're still figuring out some things, I think, on the right side of the offensive line. Defensively, they talked all week about this bye week they had, where it was a spring game like atmosphere, splitting up the team in two. Let's compete. Let's get tough. Let's get physical. Things you don't do in a bye week in season because you want to get healthy. And it showed a little bit. UCF was a team that averaged 326 rush yards per game, second best rush attack in the country. That's not nothing. Now, they played New Hampshire, Sam Houston State, schools like that. And, when the competition got a little bit stiffer, Colorado, Florida, the numbers weren't quite as there. But the way Florida had been playing defense, it didn't matter. It was on the other side. They were getting gashed, even in the win against Mississippi State. So they played tougher. They tackled better. All the things you wanted to see was there. Now, when you had to bring your toughness, your shoulder pads to the UCF game, you got to bring your oxygen tank to this game. It's a whole different tempo, style, and an angry team at Tennessee. Be interested to see how they try and step up to the challenge.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you bring that up. We thought we may get that out of UCF, right? Because they laid an egg against Colorado at home, and little brother in state, and they came out flat. Now it's a lot easier to come out flat on the road than it is at home, right? It's just one of those things. To me, I look at it like this. I know I like Billy as a guy. I mean, I know he's struggled, and the criticism's been warranted. It has at times. I think it's gotten. This happens for any coaching search. It's gotten a little ridiculous. Oh my gosh, here's a screenshot of a plane log that flew from Gainesville to Oxford on a Tuesday. Do you think that could be Lane Kiffin? It's like, yes, that's exactly what it is. They're going to go hire the coach that's in a national title hunt the second week of the year. You very smart, very cerebral. But here we are, halfway through the year, and if this team is 4-2 with a win over Tennessee under its belt, isn't it the best halfway mark of Billy's career as a Gator head coach? I mean, it's kind of crazy the difference a month can make. From that to this, I want to talk a little bit about your, lineup coming up here in terms of what you're going to be on the call for the next month and what things are shaping up to be. I mentioned overall of where this sport is, where college football, as you mentioned, Minnesota, USC. You mentioned, just the upsets across the board. When about 10 years ago, Kyle, I think maybe 10, 11 years ago, they restructured the bowl system a little bit because it was always, you were getting Wisconsin, Nebraska almost every year in a Florida bowl game. You're getting the same teams over and over just because of the bowl alliances. They go, we got to change this up. Nobody's going to come to these things anymore. Those are the days. But here we are now, and I'm watching games at night, and everybody said realignment and all this college shuffling is going to ruin the sport. Kyle, my Saturdays, you got triple headers.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think. Basically, where I'm going with this is all this new teams and new angles, and Texas playing, Florida, and I feel like every weekend's a bowl weekend now. What do you think of all? I know people are apprehensive about change. I say I hope they realign every other year. I want to keep seeing this.
Yeah, I mean, we're headed towards the power conference NFL model type deal where all the big schools have their own conference, or the SEC and the Big Ten seem to be aligning and having these meetings, these super secret meetings to create this massive, I guess the conspiracy theories create this massive conference. But it's been a lot of fun. Texas and Oklahoma in the SEC, not just in football, but in other sports, is going to be massive for softball, and it's going to be massive for TV viewership and all those numbers skyrocketing. But it's only getting better. You look at the schedule in the next couple of weeks in college football, it's elite. It is kind of funky to see Stanford go to Syracuse to play a conference game on a Friday night on ESPN, or College Game Day in Berkeley, California for Miami and Cal. I didn't even get to see the end of that game. Apparently Miami won. That game was still playing at 2 a.m. They're funky matchups and things like that. But to me, am I gonna, the people that say NIL and the traditional rivalries and things, I'm going to just stop watching the game. Well, the numbers don't say that, and the passion in the fans doesn't say that, and nothing's going to change. They got you hooked, man.
Yes.
No matter what happens, they got you hooked. You're going to watch.
Yeah, it's the refs rigged it. You're not going to go this weekend? I'll still go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll still go spend the 8 hours at the stadium.
Invest invest $400 in travel and food and hotel and all that. Kyle, I always try to use the example with anybody on this that complains about sports and they're never going to watch again. It's the equivalent of, I'm never drinking again. See you Friday night. So, okay. Kyle Crooks, Seth Harp with you here on this Tuesday, October 8th edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning, brought to you in part by Electronics World, integration and design specialist for smart home automation and entertainment, affordable, local installation, service, and support, electronicsworld.net. TC, baby, our boy, Tom Collette. That's electronicsworld.net. Also, Caught Up with Matthews in the Morning, a courtesy of Hard Rock Bet, legally sports betting in Florida, hundreds of props, parlays, game lines, and more. The only legal place to bet online in the state of Florida. That's Hard Rock Bet. I hope, Kyle, I advocate for this. I want my legacy to be here, that I push this into reality. I want to see a Hard Rock Bet entity, like a bar type of thing inside Ben Hill Griffin Stadium when they renovate. I want to see that up on like a concourse overlooking the field where you can bet in real time.
Yeah.
I'll run it. You only have to pay me $250,000 a year. I'll run it, Hard Rock. Scott Strickland, call me. I'm more than happy to help you out. All right. I want to get your thoughts on, first of all, Gator soccer. Massive upset, a game you heard on ESPN 98.1 FM, 850 AM, WRUF, Friday night. A big win over Texas, top 25 win. I know we are, a little removed, Kyle, from being a national title contender year in and year out. But where this team is now at this point, this team have a chance to get ranked this year? What looking solid. In my 4+ years here, it's the best team I've seen. What say you? I can't believe this. Almost 2 months into the season.
Yeah, it moves quick, right? So soccer is the first sport that kicks off the athletic calendar. So you're starting in, I think, mid-August. August 16th is the first match, and we're moving along here, so almost at the 2-month mark. And it was a fun game. It was the most fun I've had broadcasting a soccer game here. Man, you have to go back a ways. Probably one of my first few years, and this is my 8th year here now with the Gators. And it was one of those games. Texas on paper is the better group. They have a massive injury to one of their forwards, who's one of the best scorers in the history of the program. They have two of the top goal scorers in the history of their program on that team. One of them's hurt. And you had a player in Lauren Donovan who won SEC Co-Offensive Player of the Week. She hadn't scored a goal in her previous 46 career matches. And this is why you love sports, the drama, anything can happen. It's the greatest reality show on earth. And she scores not one, but two goals. She scored in the second minute, and then she scored in the second half, which turned out to be the game winner. And she scores a brace after not scoring in 46 previous matches. Just really, really cool moment for her. There was a moment in the game where Texas's best player, second most goals in the history of the program, she had an opportunity on a penalty kick to score. Now, this is a generational scorer. Penalties, you're scoring 98% of the time. And she hits the post. She hit the post, and the Gators were able to, at that point, hold on to the lead. And it was incredible. And the Gators bent, but they didn't break, and they found a way. It's been so close, Seth. I talked to Sam Bohan, who's the head coach of soccer here, almost every week, extensively on a Zoom or something like that. And they're recruiting at a high level now. All these ranked games, they're playing so close. They almost beat Florida State last year, who won the national championship this year. I think it says a lot about the culture. The culture has always been good from her first year. She's in her third year now. Time moves pretty quick, but now she's finally getting the players here. And defensively, they're very good. You know, they don't give up a whole lot. It's just in the attack, finding ways to score. They had two massive injuries to start the year. Megan Hinnenkamp was the SEC Freshman of the Year. She broke her leg in the offseason, and her backup tore ACL. So you're three deep now at one position to start the year in the attack. And they've done a really good job at moments. It's just been scoring goals, and hopefully this win gets them going a little bit.
Hard to believe, but as I mentioned earlier, is it 28 days from the start of basketball season?
Yeah.
It comes out as fast, man. I know. I was looking at it. I was putting together the lineup, and we have like potential of 6 men's and women's basketball games Thanksgiving weekend when it's all said and done, starting on that 4-day slide, whenever that happens. But hey, that's 6 weeks away, 7 weeks away. The start of the season. I mean, a lot of people asking, and you know that there is royalty here now from the basketball universe, and you know, I'm trying to figure. You know, you've got that O'Neal name. Mm-hmm. So with that O'Neal name comes a certain level of expectation. She's been in the College of Journalism there at ESPN Gainesville a couple times doing some stuff. She's very business savvy, very cerebral. She's her dad's daughter. You know, just watching her and how she carries herself. It's a team that, Kyle, we saw last year lose games that you and I would say it's like they're just finding ways to lose. And then all of a sudden they're just finding ways to win for about 4 or 5 games and went on a nice little run there late. What, we're 3 years removed, Kyle, now, right? Has it been 3 years since they made the NCAA tournament? It has, hasn't it? Good gracious. Yeah. 28 days away. What should we expect?
Yeah, it's going to be a young team, an athletic team. You lose a little bit off that group from last year. I was saying this when people asked me in the offseason, your best players, you know, aside from Aaliyah Matharu, who we know is a really good scorer, very good defender, you're going to be young. Yeah. Liv McGill is the number 7 recruit in the country when she signed on the dotted line to Florida. That's the highest recruit the Gators have ever had. Previous to Kelly Ray Finley, they'd only had one McDonald's All-American. That was Ronnie Williams. And since that point, there's going to be 3 McDonald's All-Americans on this roster. Mm-hmm. It's unheard of for Florida women's basketball. Layla Reynolds comes back for her second year. You have Miara O'Neal, who comes in, Liv McGill, and then you have a very high recruit in Kylie Kitts, who's, I believe, going to redshirt this year. So she's probably not going to play. But she's a highly ranked recruit, Her sister Chloe plays for South Carolina. She's electing to come here to Florida, so that they have a very good young core. I believe how fast that youth is able to step in and make an impact in the SEC. You have 18-year-olds playing against now, and with the extra year with COVID, 23, sometimes 24-year-olds. Like that's the problem, is when you're young and you're playing in this established college athletics now, where you have so many older players that are playing on really good teams. LSU is going to be really good this year. South Carolina is going to be elite. Outside of those two, there's a lot of opportunity to win games, and the Gators will get their center back this year, Shea Kyle. She tore her ACL early in SEC play. The Gators didn't have her, so getting her back will be key. We'll see how the non-conference goes. It's crazy. This thing's about to rev up here. November 4th, the Gators men's and women's basketball teams kick it off, and I'm really, really excited to broadcast another year.
It's Kyle Crooks. I am Seth Harp here on this Tuesday, October 8th edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning, brought to you in part by Florida Cracker Kitchen. Florida Cracker is the brand for original Floridians. Great food, Southern hospitality in the center of the universe. Brooksville, Florida. FloridaCracker.com. Also, Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and the surrounding areas. Now it's coming up this weekend. I get Friday, depending on where we are storm-wise. Of course, listen every Friday for Peachland Dentistry's JC and the QB's weekend picks, and Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Couple, I know you guys listen to the station. Couple lineup changes. Everything's going away Wednesday and Thursday because of the hurricane.
What's the latest, Seth? Do we know what's his name?
I know Gator volleyball for Wednesday has been pushed
Friday
State to Friday. So we have volleyball Friday, Sunday with football in the middle. I know we're going to be carrying Major League Baseball playoff satellite, and depending on how bad the storm gets, what type of wall-to-wall coverage we're going to be going on. But
how's the storm looking? Have you watched the?
I was looking at that this morning because I'm going to be anchoring some coverage on WUFT.
I love that.
Hey, but how about this? I always try to tell people this. When I was in Jacksonville, not too many people. How many people do you know? How many people do you know that have covered 4 hurricanes in 4 different states?
Only one, I think.
How about this, baby? Florida Man of the Year. Charleston, Savannah, Mobile, and Jacksonville, and now Gainesville on the Gulf side of things, right? We got the Atlantic. Now we're on the Gulf side of things. But no, this is it's a monster. It's a beast, and it's I tell people this one. The ones in the past that kind of come around, you always are cognizant of them. This one I don't get worried about a lot. This one worries me because it's coming right down Broadway. They don't usually start on the Yucatan and kick this way, right? This one, they usually come across the Atlantic and you kind of see them coming. This is one that you catch out of your peripheral vision. They're like, uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody just be smart. That's what I try to tell people. Be smart and stay safe. And if you can get out of Dodge, get out of Dodge. I'm going to be sleeping on a queen mattress at the studio. So lucky me with my 4-pound bag of beef jerky and
sounds like a football game day for you.
Ghost Gatorade, Powerade drink. Everybody getting into this business now. So
yeah, there's a lot of those.
Got to thank the Paul business or the Paul brothers for that. Really quick, I know that we're wrapping up here and just looking at fall sports in the state of fall. You got basketball coming up and where we sit right now. The sports fan, NFL. Good fall so far, right? I'm trying. Not angry. The Heisman Trophy race seems to be wide open. You've got Cam Ward. You got the Boise State running back. You've got,
Travis Hunter in there.
Travis Hunter. Yeah. I mean, NFL wise, my Chiefs are undefeated, but Kyle, come on, we're supposed to be undefeated. Kind of weird. October 8th. I know the Gators are 3-2. I know that people wish this team were a little bit better. The Bucks. Poor Jaguars. But the Dolphins, I know, but overall, I'm pretty happy with what we got the first 6 weeks of the fall sports cycle. What about you?
Yeah, tell that to all the fans out there. There's always something. There's always something to complain about. I know the Jags. I'm a Colts fan actually, so I had to sit and watch that.
Oh no!
Flacco almost brought us back, and yeah, that was a rough loss. But good for the Jags. Get on the board. I'm a Yankees fan too, so I watched them lose last night.
Royals.
Yeah. So yeah, you're
bad blood. So I'll leave you with this.
Maybe it's miserable for me, and everyone else is happy.
If Joe Flacco plays well, should they just hand the job back to Anthony?
I think it's not the worst thing to just let him sit and watch, because it's clear Flacco still has a lot left in the tank.
Juice.
Yeah, he did with Cleveland last year. They were in the playoffs with him last year. You could sense the offense moves at a much more efficient pace with Flacco. AR's the future. Give him a little time to sit and watch under Flacco is not the worst thing, right?
Everybody just needs to slow down, right? Not everybody needs to drive like me. Not everybody drives 90 on the highway, right? It's okay to drive the speed limit. And think about this. Joe Flacco lead the Colts to the playoffs. They make him a Hall of Famer. That's a discussion for a different time, because I'll be 3 teams, 3 playoffs. Yes. He is Kyle Crooks, the voice of pretty much anything that ever has been created in sports. Gator women's basketball starting 28 days away. Of course, Gator soccer and Gator softball. We didn't get into softball, but that got a lot to do, man. We got a lot on the grill today. So there we go. So Kyle, thank you so much. I appreciate it as always, getting up early with us here on this Tuesday morning. Thank Edgar Thompson of the Orlando Sentinel. Shane O'Mac will be back tomorrow. Get you guys back into the groove of things before the Gators get ready to take on the Vols in Knoxville coming up this Saturday. Of course, the Kentucky game's a night game. Night games. I like the noon games, Kyle. I like to go out and about in the town with my boys on Saturday nights, and these 8 p.m. kicks are cramping our style. So there you go. Kyle, as always, man, thanks for the time. Thanks to Zach Rothrock putting everything together today. Freddie Wiebe and the entire gang. Philip, can't thank you enough. Everybody enjoy your Tuesday. This has been PodUp with Matthews in the morning.